Le'el Orech Din is a prayer that's only said on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's part of the service called the Karovah, the approach or the nearness. And these piyutim, these liturgical poems, of which Le'el Orech Din is one, are inserted into the Amidah, the standing prayer. This piyut, this prayer poem in particular, is said when the doors of the ark containing the Torah is open, so it's representative of a real moment of intimacy, of intensity, of intention. This ancient prayer follows the Aleph Bet, the Hebrew alphabet, line by line, exploring different attributes or qualities of the One, of the Divine. I find there are a few ways to work with prayer poetry of this variety. Seeing as it's an alphabetic acrostic and the idea of a poem going from A to Z, so to speak, enumerating all sorts of attributes, is to allow the entirety or the enormity or the complete spectrum of all of these attributes to wash over you. The intent, I believe, behind an author who is writing such a prayer is to cover all of their bases, to give a complete picture of God. Another way of working with it is noticing in a given moment or at a given year which of the letters or which of the lines really jumps out at you. Given these 22 attributes or these 22 options, there may be one image, one interface that really opens your mind or opens your heart. Or, on the other side, one may stand out in really challenging you or troubling you and really asking for you to pause and chew that bite well, to take in that one epithet, that one attribute, and really to work with it. Before going into the specifics of each line, as we look at this prayer, you'll notice one word repeats over and over again. Each line, each stitch, ends either with the word din, badin, or biyom din. Din meaning judgment, badin, in judgment, or biyom din, on the day of judgment. El Orech Din is translated by Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory as the God who renders judgment. And Orech Din is a judge, a litigator, an advocate. And this idea of standing before a lawyer of sorts, no matter how divine, may not initially be one that elicits intimacy or trust. This word judgment can be pretty heavy, can induce fear or contraction, but to understand din, we need to understand chesed, or loving kindness. For the mystics and the Kabbalistic understanding, on one side of the tree of life is chesed, or gedula is the more ancient word for it, and it's the idea of expansion. It is the love behind all there is, the impulse to create and to manifest. Din, or gevurah, on the other side of the tree is the counterbalance, or the valence that limits, holds, constrains, and gives boundaries. These two work together to find some compassionate balance in Tiferet. But with this emphasis of din, Yom Din, the day of judgment, I think I prefer the translation of discernment or clear awareness. Back to our image of the judge. Imagine standing before someone who's really expert in law, in justice, in procedure, someone who's sharp and clear and kind, who can advocate for you, can grok your whole story and really sees you and really understands you. This is the invitation or the interface we're being asked to connect with as we stand in this korovah, in this intimate moment of prayer. So again, the ark is open, the Torah is there. It's almost as though we're putting our hand on the Bible and coming clean, giving our own testimony and also receiving one about who we are and where we are in our lives. And what if we could do this free from fear, shame, guilt, with utter transparency and utter trust? It's with this kind of foregrounding I want to read Jonathan Sacks' translation and pull out some of the deeper flavors of these words. Le'el Orech Din, to the El, to God, to the transcendent one who is a judge who renders judgment. Levochen levavot biyom din, who examines hearts. Levochen levavot. Here the poet is playing with the second letter, the bet, or the vet in this case. Both words, levochen, to examine, to look within our hearts. Legole amukot, lega, to reveal. Amukot, the depths, the deep secrets. The one who really gets clear through really deep discernment to see the parts that may have been hidden, concealed, they begin to start bubbling up. Ledover mesharim biyom din, who speaks straight, who talks true, who speaks candidly, speaks straight. Lehoge deot badin, who voices wisdom or contemplates with intimate awareness this discernment, this clarity. Levatik ve'ose chesed, who is diligent and performs kindness. We had this word, I talked about the word chesed as loving kindness. Vatik, someone who is meticulous and wise, has the connotation of eldering, of embodied wisdom. Someone who does chesed out of deen, who does loving kindness out of discernment. Lezocher brito badin, one who remembers the brit or abides by the covenant, recalls relationship, does what they say they're going to do. Lechomel ma'asav badin, and shows compassion upon all creation. Chamol al ma'asecha, this is a theme that appears in other prayers of Rosh Hashanah, to compassionately hold all acts, to take responsibility for the things and the beings and the creation of the world. Letaher chosav badin, who purifies those who rely on God in judgment. Taher, tahara, this idea of purity in a post-puritanical West can be a word that we're a little bit allergic to. Being tahor is of the quality of being available, responsible, able to respond and available for service, to recognize those God depends upon, to acknowledge those who depend upon us. Leyodea machshavot biyom din, the one who knows our thoughts, who's intimate with our inner murmurings, rumblings, the primary language that's within all beings. Lechovesh ka'aso badin, Jonathan Sacks says, suppresses anger, but also knows how to work with the edge, work when things start trembling and raging. Lilovesh tzedakot badin, the one who is adorned in righteousness, who wears tzedakah, whose very acts, whose very nature, whose very behavior engenders righteousness. L'mochel avonot badin, the one who forgives sins. Mechila is one of the three words of forgiveness that we repeat throughout this year. To do the dance, tof umachol, drum and dance, is a play on this idea of being able to dance into the perspective of another, to take that dance of forgiveness. Lenora tehilot biyom din, the awesome and praiseworthy one. Nora tehilot, the one who is excellent and exceeds all language in terms of prayer and praise. Lesoleach le'amusav badin, slicha is one of those other words of forgiveness, who forgives le'amus, the ones that are born. The name of this album is The World Being Born, and that's a play of not only what's being birthed, but being carried. Like a compassionate mother, a compassionate parent holding a child. Le'oneh le'korav biyom din, the one who answers those who call. Le'oneh korav, this is a familiar phrase repeated multiple times throughout the Psalms, the one who hears our prayer, the one who wants us to call and cry out, the one who is, again, able to respond. Lefoel rachamav, the one who exercises wombfulness. Rechem is womb, rachamim is compassion. Il-Rahim is one of the Arabic names of Allah, who holds the universe in her womb, in their womb. The one who does the verbing of compassion in the world. Litzofer nistarot b'yom din, who sees all that is hidden. Just breathing away any secrets, any hiding, any shame. She already knows, he already knows, they already know. L'koneh avadav badin, the one who acquires his servants in judgment. This is one of those old paradigm phrases that needs a little up-leveling and retranslating. Koneh is also creates the possibility of service, creates the possibility that we are here to transcend the small self, to find purpose in larger stories than the ones that are too small for us. L'rachem amo b'yom din, the one who has, again, rachamim, rechem, compassion on his people, on their people. Again, with that smallness of our personal story, being a singular soul, to remember we belong. The one who has compassion on all of us. And we're not doing this alone. L'shomer ohavav badin, the one who protects his beloveds, who's a guard and a guardian, and a strength and a support, like Shomer Yisrael, Shomer Shabbat, Shamor Vezachor, to be guarded, to be protected. This Shmirah. L'tomech timimav b'yom din, another language of support, the innocent. So as you listen to this song, as you play it, as you pray it, as you work with the text or work with the melody, perhaps you're awash in this alphabet of justice and of discernment, of getting clear what needs to be disclosed or what needs to be held, and what sort of justice and righteousness you seek. Perhaps one of these lines, one of these letters, one of these words pops out for you and is an outstanding guide or puzzle for you to hold. Whether you really want to develop a deeper relationship with the Yodea Machashavot, for example, the knower of secrets, or whether you have trouble with the idea of the Koneh Avadav, the one who acquires worshipful ones, who acquires servants. Here the ark is open, the book of life is there, the opportunity to plunge into a day of discernment, a practice of discernment, a moment of discernment. Nay, the El Orech Din, the one who is an advocate and judge, see you clearly, represent you justly, and manifest righteousness for all life everywhere.